Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. If I could sit down with every woman trying to conceive, this is what I would tell her first. Before you're spending thousands of dollars on IVF, before you're blaming your age or trying another random supplement protocol, and definitely before you're accepting that everything looks normal, please test your gut. Your gut is not separate from your fertility. It is one of the main supporters of it. And we'll talk about all the different ways why and how that is. But if your gut is inflamed or dysregulated or imbalanced, it can quietly block many processes that you need for pregnancy to be successful. So today we're going to break down why this matters, what's actually happening inside your gut, and what you can do right now to start improving your gut health. So your gut is really running the show way more than you think. You may have been taught to think that fertility is a hormone issue, but the truth is that your hormones do not function in isolation. They rely on your gut to work properly. And your gut impacts how estrogen is metabolized and cleared, how much inflammation is happening in your body, how your immune system responds overall, and definitely plays a really big role in implantation because there needs to be an immune system shift for that to be successful. And of course, how well you absorb key fertility nutrients, which support how we are making and using hormones, as well as just all of the DNA programming pieces for follicle development. So essentially egg quality as well as sperm quality. Your gut also impacts how your brain is communicating with your reproductive system and your ovaries. So when someone says that your hormones look fine, that does not mean that your body is actually in a place to support pregnancy. Because if the gut is off, everything downstream is absolutely being impacted. So when the gut is not functioning well, let's make this really practical. If your gut's inflamed or imbalanced, here's what can happen. Estrogen is not cleared properly. All right. So estrogen is actually eliminated in the stool, and there's a group of gut bacteria called the Estrobolome that actually help regulate estrogen metabolism. If those bacteria or that bacteria environment is off, then estrogen can actually get recirculated instead of eliminated. This can contribute to things like estrogen dominance patterns, PMS, painful periods, poor ovulation signaling, and chronic low-grade inflammation is going to increase. An unhealthy gut often means increased intestinal permeability as well, which allows inflammatory compounds into circulation. And inflammation, of course, directly impacts egg quality, ovulation, implantation, and even the stability of early pregnancy. So our gut health also has a huge impact on the immune system as well. And when immune system becomes dysregulated, which can happen when we are not supporting that microbiome that really helps manage estrogen, as one example, it's constantly reacting to pathogens or the imbalance in your gut, then your immune system is going to stay on high alert. And that can make all pieces of the fertility puzzle a lot harder, including implantation. And because pregnancy requires a very specific, tolerant immune response, it's going to negatively impact the outcomes of conception if the gut is not in a good, healthy place. All right. Can also contribute to decreased absorption of nutrients as well. So when the gut is not functioning appropriately and you're not getting those vitamins and minerals out of the food that we need to support things like egg quality and hormone production and hormone elimination, we run into a lot of trouble. Okay. And even if you're eating really well, if your gut's not functioning well, you may not be absorbing your iron and your zinc and your B12 or your folate or your fat soluble vitamins, all of which are really critical for egg quality, hormone production, and early fetal development too. So gut health is definitely important for so many different reasons. And it is typically completely overlooked or missed in a conventional fertility care workup. So many women get stuck here because a standard fertility workup does not look at your gut. So you might be told that everything looks normal, but it's really just been a surface level investigation. And no one has actually addressed your microbiome balance or potential gut infections or any inflammation in the GI tract. What is happening with digestion and absorption, and how healthy that lining is to be able to get those nutrients out of the food that you're eating. So essentially, you're just left guessing, okay, what else can be going on? You might be trying supplement after supplement or trying all these different diets, but all of the supplements that you're taking, all of the food that you're eating isn't going to make a big enough impact if you're not actually able to digest and absorb them appropriately. So then we feel like your body is just not responding, when in reality, there may be a really clear and very addressable root cause. Right. So, actionable steps to start supporting your gut right now are definitely possible, and what we're going to dive into next. So, you do not have to wait to start supporting your gut. Even though testing is ultimately going to give you the best individualized guidance, you can still start here. And so, here are a few foundational steps that you can begin with right now, today. You can eat in a way that supports your microbiome by focusing on a variety of plant foods for fiber diversity. Our microbiome really loves fiber. Colorful vegetables and colorful fruits for polyphenols are helpful too, even if we're not fully breaking them down in the best way possible. They're still going to be supportive. The fiber, especially because motility is a really big piece of shifting that microbiome into a positive direction there. Quality protein is also supportive of gut repair too, and healthy fats can also reduce inflammation as well. But if you're getting a lot of symptoms from these foods, that's even more reason to get a closer look with testing there. So for a simple goal, aim for 20 to 30 different plant foods a week. Okay. And that might not sound super simple, but think about how you can break that down on a daily basis. Think about 5 plants a day, and that can really support your fiber diversity there. And supporting digestion, you can't ever build a healthy gut without proper digestion. So you want to make sure that you're not only focusing on getting that fiber in, but focusing on how you're eating. So slow down your pace of eating. Take some deep breaths prior to starting your eating, because that can actually shift that nervous system into that rest and digest state. You want to make sure you're chewing your food really thoroughly, and even avoid constant snacking too. Okay, so having gaps between our snacks and meals is really supportive and restorative for the gut too. We also want to make sure we're supporting stomach acid with things like bitter foods with meals. It can be things like lemon water that you're sipping on before a meal, and a little apple cider vinegar diluted in water, or bitter foods are going to be things like our arugula and our cranberries, our vinegar dressings are all really helpful too. Another thing we can do to support gut health right away is reduce irritants. So pay attention to your symptoms, and if you have common triggers, try to avoid those until you get that deeper look. And please make sure that elimination is only temporary until you get additional support, because most food sensitivities or responses, like GI responses, are actually an underlying microbiome issue or gut infection issue, not an actual food issue. Okay. So we want your fertility nutrition, your fertility diet to be really diverse, okay, and not restrictive. But if you are noting noticeable symptoms from certain foods, cut them out temporarily and then get that additional support so you can add them back in strategically. In the end, that's always the ultimate goal. But avoiding ultra processed foods is always going to be helpful for everybody, definitely way lower in nutrients and the things that are going to be supporting our overall fertility. Avoid excess alcohol. That's a very common trigger. And think about your stress too. So our brain talks a lot to our gut. If you've ever been really nervous to do like a talk or a presentation or something like that, you might get a nervous tummy, and that is the stress or the gut talking to the brain and vice versa. So again, we don't want to be restrictive, but being aware is definitely helpful. And I kind of alluded to this, but your nervous system is definitely going to be related to overall gut health. So your gut and nervous system are directly connected. So we have to think about both when we're thinking about supporting or improving gut health. And if your body does not feel safe, digestion suffers in a lot of ways. So eating in a calm state, doing that deep breathing before eating, making sure you're chewing thoroughly are going to help. Getting outside daily, thinking about your light exposure. So we want sunlight or skylight before screen time in the morning. That is very restorative to the gut as getting outside sunlight or skylight different times of the day. Also, walking after meals is also helpful. So think about 10-minute walks after meals that actually can have a bigger impact than one long walk during the day. And then creating small moments of relaxation throughout your day. It can be that deep breathing prior to mealtime. It can be maybe if you're working on your commute to and from work, being really intentional about your deep breathing, what you're listening to, what you're consuming to make it a restful, restorative environment to support the gut as well as overall reproduction too. And then we talked a little bit about supporting overall regular bowel movements, but how to do that. We want to make sure that, well, first of all, it's important to do that because you're eliminating a lot of like used hormones and toxins in our waste that way. So to support regular bowel movements, we want daily or hydration is definitely a good focus, as well as daily fiber intake being a focus. Movement throughout the day is supportive too. A lot of nuance around movement. We don't want to overdo it, but movement is definitely helpful for digestion too, even if it is stretching. Things like yoga and walking are all very helpful for motility and digestion too. But if your bowel movements are off, hormone clearance is absolutely impacted. How efficiently you're eliminating toxins is absolutely being affected too. So we want at least one bowel movement every day. Up to 3 can be very normal and healthy too, if they're solid and complete. Okay, so those are things that you can do right away, starting today if you wish, but testing is ultimately going to give you the best individualized approach for how to make the most significant difference in your gut health to support everything fertility related. And something else I want to mention is that microbiome or that bacterial environment in your gut is what you are going to be passing on to baby. Okay, you build their microbiome. So it actually plays a really big role in their immune system that you are supporting the creation of, as well as their lifelong health. So, a microbiome that we ourselves got from our mothers helps determine how challenging or easy it is for us to stay healthy, because in a lot of ways, our gut is impacting our overall health, which is why it impacts our reproduction in a lot of ways too. Okay, so these steps that we've talked about are a starting point, but if you really want that real targeted change, you need the data. Not all gut issues are the same, and it's really hard to symptom spot. Majority of the clients that I work with don't even have any GI symptoms, but we find barriers in the gut. pretty much every single time, because the majority of the cases I'm working with are unexplained infertility, but I see a lot of women with endometriosis and PCOS where gut concerns are really prevalent too. So a lot of women are dealing with bacterial imbalance, bacterial overgrowth, things like parasites, yeast overgrowth, low beneficial bacteria, and inflammatory markers in the gut. And each of these requires a different approach. So there is a really big value to comprehensive stool testing. I personally use GI Map. It can be incredibly helpful. And it really takes the guesswork out of the picture, and it moves you into a direction that is very individualized and going to provide you with significant changes in not only gut health, but also fertility support too. When you know what's going on in your gut, you can support it in a way that actually moves the needle a heck of a lot faster. All right. So if you've been trying to get pregnant for months or years, or you're having challenges with carrying to term and having a healthy baby, even if you've been told that everything looks normal and you feel like you've tried everything, I really want you to hear this. Your body is not broken. It may just be missing key support. And for your gut essentially could be one of the biggest pieces. Fertility is not just about forcing ovulation or chasing numbers. It's about creating that internal environment where pregnancy can happen and thrive. And your gut is really at the center of that environment. So if you're tired of guessing and you're ready to understand what your body actually needs, this is exactly the work that I do inside my private coaching programs. We test, we personalize, and we support your body in a way that makes sense for you. Because fertility is very responsive, okay, when you make these changes and when you learn how to work with your body instead of against it, everything can change. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.